In a seemingly ordinary office, a silver-haired man searches his desk while his colleague diligently types. His hand reaches into a desk drawer, intent on retrieving something specific. Behold a secret stash of smokes, a tough decision for a man of taste. His sharp-eyed assistant, Itakura, cuts in, reminding the president of his schedule. The president, ID badge in hand, acknowledges it's indeed time for him to head out. He selects a cigarette and places it between his lips, casually informing Itakura of his departure. Now, with a lit cigarette and a knowing smirk, he announces a brief excursion. Itakura's piercing blue eyes follow him, offering a solemn wish for his success in the battle. Polished shoes pause at the doorway, a silent signal of imminent departure. The president, wreathed in smoke, eagerly anticipates the impending confrontation. The president makes his grand exit, the office door closing on one reality, perhaps hinting at another. Suddenly, we're under a mystical full moon. This brief excursion is clearly not for a board meeting. And there it is. The battle, Itakura mentioned, is at the Demon King's ominous castle, no less. Our hero, Leo, alongside his capable female companions, declares they've finally reached the ultimate showdown. Savior Leo, as he's known, locks his gaze forward, every bit the hero this world desperately needs. He remembers being summoned from Japan, a classic isekai tale initiated by a god's powerful intervention. A radiant goddess had appeared, identifying him as a reincarnator and urgently requesting his unique skills. With a gift of immense power, she entrusted Leo with saving their world from the clutches of the demon tribe. Ever since, Leo and his party have been on a relentless crusade, vanquishing demons and protecting the populace. He offers a grateful smile, acknowledging his team's unwavering support on this extraordinary journey. First up is Ran, the feisty cat-eared girl, flashing a playful wink and a peace sign. Next, the elegant elf swordswoman Lilia exudes an aura of calm strength. And completing the trio, Mahal the magician smiles with arcane power shimmering in her hand. Leo glances back, a silent acknowledgement of the incredible team flanking him. With a resolute expression, he steels himself for the challenge ahead. The party stands united before the colossal, foreboding gates of the Demon King's fortress. Enthroned in shadow, the Demon King himself awaits, casually holding a cigarette. Leo, burning with conviction, vows to bring an end to the Demon King's tyrannical rule. A sinister smirk spreads across the Demon King's face, his glowing eye promising a difficult fight. Unfazed, the Demon King, wreathed in smoke, cryptically suggests their arrival was tardy. Leo and his companions reel back, utterly bewildered by this unexpected turn of events. The heroines exchange puzzled glances, questioning the identity of this dapper stranger. The silver-haired man offers a smooth apology, claiming he didn't intend to surprise them. He begins to introduce himself, a mysterious air surrounding his calm demeanor. Standing before the Demon King's throne, he coolly identifies himself as a repossession agent. The hero party stares, completely baffled by this bizarre job title in a demon castle. Leo, losing patience, aggressively demands the Demon King's location from the suspicious man. The agent casually strolls, revealing he asked the Demon King to step out. With a chilling focus, the man declares his true target is Leo himself. A strange aura flickers around Leo as he processes this ominous revelation. The agent's glowing eye narrows, clearly about to drop a bombshell on our unsuspecting hero. He leans in, a hand on Leo's shoulder, casually uttering the name Tanaka Naoto, shattering the hero's facade. Leo freezes, his heroic composure crumbling as a forgotten identity resurfaces with shocking speed. Mahal fiercely defends her leader, proclaiming him as Leo Celestia, the great savior, not some Tanaka. The agent smirks, mockingly impressed by Tanaka's apparent upgrade in life and title. His gaze sweeps over the heroines, insinuating they're merely pretty props, unsuited for genuine conflict. He scoffs at Leo's savior act, accusing him of callously dragging these women into his personal charade. The agent's grip tightens, his voice laced with menace as he prepares to expose Leo's sordid past life. He then reveals a shocking detail about Leo's previous transgressions while on probation, involving inappropriate pursuits. Leo is visibly horrified, the agent's final devastating accusation about a grave past offense hanging heavy in the blood-tinged air. Leo recoils, his heroic facade shattering under the weight of the agent's accusation. The agent, unmoved by Leo's distress, prepares to deliver another verbal blow. With a knowing, shadowed gaze, the agent coldly asserts that Leo's fundamental nature remains unchanged. Leo stammers a denial, desperately trying to dismiss the agent's damning portrayal. The agent coolly turns his attention to the heroines, posing a pointed question. He challenges the women, questioning their willing allegiance to a man like Leo. Ran, Lilia, and Mahal are visibly stunned, the agent's words planting seeds of doubt. Mahal looks down, recalling how Leo manipulated her after saving her village, a memory now tinged with regret. Ran remembers Leo using her rescue from servitude as leverage, her past fear resurfacing. Lilia recounts how Leo's threats kept her in line, his path of peace only leading to more conflict. The agent smirks, confirming the heroine's damning testimonies against Leo. Leo desperately tries to brush off their accusations as mere confusion. The agent's glowing eye fixes on Leo, unconvinced by his flimsy excuses. Leo shrinks under the agent's imposing presence, his bravado fading fast. Sweat pours down Leo's face as he realizes his carefully constructed world is collapsing. Panic swirls in Leo's eyes, his composure completely shattered. Losing control, Leo furiously unleashes a powerful flame attack to silence the agent. A torrent of fire, maxi flame, erupts from Leo's hand, aimed directly at his accuser. The agent and the heroines remain surprisingly calm as the inferno bears down on them. The agent stares back, utterly unimpressed by Leo's desperate fiery outburst. Leo's maxi flame detonates with furious intensity, engulfing the agent's position. He glances back, panting slightly, a flicker of uncertainty in his eyes despite his aggressive posture. The massive inferno rages before Leo, a wall of fire meant to silence all accusations. A cruel smirk plays on Leo's lips, his eyes shadowed with a dark confidence. He throws his head back, laughing with unhinged glee amidst the roaring flames. Leo stands triumphantly, believing his fiery outburst has decisively ended the confrontation. His expression twists into a disturbing, possessive grimace, ready to obliterate anyone challenging his reality. Suddenly, Leo's eye widens in utter shock, his victorious facade crumbling. The agent strolls out from the diminishing inferno, completely unscathed and radiating an icy calm. A knowing grin spreads across the agent's face, seemingly impressed by Leo's spirited yet futile attack. Leo stares in disbelief, utterly floored by the agent's nonchalant survival. He frantically questions how his ultimate flame attack could have possibly failed. The agent, unfazed, calmly reaches into his pocket for a pack of cigarettes. Ran, Lilia, and Mahal watch with growing unease, their expressions reflecting deep concern. He casually lights up, a cloud of smoke preceding his next cutting remark about Leo's character. The agent's glowing eye fixes on Leo, delivering a scathing condemnation of his past actions. Pure terror washes over Leo's face as he confronts the agent's overwhelming aura. Sweat drips from Leo's brow, his mind reeling as he struggles to comprehend the agent's true nature. Leo trembles, completely unnerved by this enigmatic and seemingly invincible man. The agent stands coolly, exuding an air of absolute control while Leo appears utterly defeated. The agent reveals his presence is due to a specific high-level request. He elaborates that this directive came directly from the god of this very world. Leo's eyes widen in disbelief, the divine intervention catching him completely off guard. The god's demand is clear. The power bestowed upon Leo must be reclaimed. Furthermore, the agent is tasked with collecting this power and banishing Leo back to his original world, causing Leo to stumble. A horrified Leo questions the ominous implications of collecting his power. The agent, with a knowing look, confirms Leo's dawning, dreadful understanding. Leo's hand instinctively clenches the hilt of his sword, preparing for a confrontation. He desperately draws his blade, warning the agent to keep his distance. Leo brandishes his sword, issuing a final, shaky threat to the unperturbed agent. The agent casually advances, completely disregarding Leo's desperate plea. Leo, voice cracking with fear, repeats his demand for the agent to stay back. A smirk plays on the agent's lips, his eyes glinting with amusement at Leo's futile resistance. Leo's gaze hardens, a spark of desperate defiance igniting within his terror. He lunges forward, swinging his flame-wreathed sword in a desperate, panicked strike. The agent calmly takes another drag from his cigarette, utterly unimpressed by the incoming attack. With impossible ease, the agent intercepts the fiery blade using nothing but a simple, unassuming card. Leo's eyes widen in sheer disbelief, his attack effortlessly neutralized. The agent, still holding the sword at bay with the card, coolly remarks that introductions are in order. The flimsy card effortlessly contains the magical sword as the agent prepares to reveal his identity. The agent coolly reveals he's the president of the Lotus Collection Agency Service, much to Leo's wide-eyed horror. He introduces himself as Hasuda, a smug grin playing on his lips as he holds Leo's sword effortlessly. Hasuda's business card details their specialty, repossessing anything, from abilities to debts, no questions asked. With a knowing, predatory smile, Hasuda addresses Leo by his original forgotten name, Tanaka Naoto. Hasuda casually declares his intention to repossess Leo's ill-gotten power, flicking cigarette ash with disdain. Leo's eyes dart around in pure panic, his mind racing as he internally curses his dire situation. The heroines observe the escalating confrontation, their faces etched with a mixture of fear and dawning understanding. Driven to desperation, Leo unleashes a torrent of dark chains, bellowing his defiance. Ran, Lilia, and Mahal recoil in shock as Leo resorts to yet another dangerous ability. Suddenly, the dark chains ensnare Ran, her eyes wide with terror as she's caught in Leo's desperate gambit. Leo's dark chains instantly ensnare not just Ran, but Lilia too, their shock palpable. He doesn't stop there, swiftly binding Mahal, using all three heroines as desperate shields. The captured women look on in horror, while Hasuda coolly assesses Leo's pathetic gambit from nearby. Leo's shadowed face contorts, internally raging against this disastrous new reality he refuses to accept. He yanks the chains binding the heroines, directing a furious outburst towards the unfazed president. Hasuda, however, seems more interested in his cigarette than Leo's escalating hostage drama. Leo then lays down his terms, demanding Hasuda depart immediately or face dire consequences. To emphasize his vile threat, Leo roughly grabs Lilia by her hair, her eyes wide with terror. A twisted, cruel smirk plays on Leo's lips as he menacingly holds Lilia, clearly enjoying her distress. His eyes gleam with madness as he makes a despicable threat against all three women, hoping to force Hasuda's retreat. Hasuda's eyes narrow, his expression utterly unmoved by Leo's desperate, cruel display. The three heroines remain bound and terrified, caught in the crossfire of Leo's depravity. Hasuda's hand gestures dismissively as he begins to verbally dissect Leo's delusions of heroism. He contemptuously flicks his finished cigarette to the ground, a small act of utter disdain. Ran, her eyes wide with dawning horror, finally sees Leo for the monster he truly is. Leo, incensed by her defiance, yanks the chains brutally, demanding silence. Ran winces in pain as the chains dig deeper, a direct consequence of Leo's fury. Completely unhinged, Leo rants about his supposed indispensability, trying to justify his vile deeds. Hasuda watches with cold amusement, recognizing Leo's true, pathetic nature is finally on full display. Surrounded by a menacing purple aura, Hasuda casually remarks on the familiar tune of desperation he's heard from others before. Leo's eyes, wide with a mix of rage and confusion, betray his inability to comprehend Hasuda's words. Hasuda coolly observes Leo, remarking on the unoriginality of desperate ploys from good-for-nothings. A sinister smile spreads across Hasuda's face, his dark aura intensifying as he states their predictable shared fate. An unseen force suddenly slams Leo to his knees, his face contorting in pain as he gasps. Crackling energy engulfs Leo, his body racked with violent convulsions as he endures unimaginable torment. Through the agony, Leo's eye shows a pinprick of defiant light, a last spark of resistance. Leo's uncontrolled power seemingly erupts, engulfing the chained heroines in a terrifying ring of fire. The three women cry out in terror, trapped by Leo's chains and now surrounded by searing flames. Hasuda watches the fiery spectacle with a chillingly calm smirk, taking another drag from his cigarette. With a dismissive snap of his fingers, Hasuda signals his complete control over the dire situation. With a mere gesture, Hasuda's purple aura intensifies, signaling the end of Leo's charade. The dark chains binding the heroines suddenly clatter to the ground, their power extinguished. Ran and Mahal exchange bewildered glances as their restraints inexplicably vanish. Leo stares at his own trembling hand, a look of utter confusion spreading across his face. His body convulses once more as an unseen force drains the last vestiges of his stolen might. Hasuda triumphantly holds aloft a crystal pulsating with dark energy, Leo's power now his prize. The president coolly thanks the now powerless Leo, who kneels defeated before him. Hasuda smirks, remarking how Leo's true, despicable nature made the repossession remarkably smooth. He then cruelly taunts Leo, asking how it feels to be Tanaka Naoto once more. Leo looks up, his face a mask of dawning horror as the reality of his powerless state sinks in. Leo clutches his head, his face a mask of disbelief and utter despair as he babbles incoherently. The heroines stare in disbelief, struggling to reconcile this pathetic figure with the hero they once knew. A stark white bubble emphasizes his desperate internal denial of his true, worthless self. Tanaka Naoto grovels on the floor, pathetically demanding the return of the power he claims was divinely given. Hasuda, ever cool, wonders aloud if the entity that gifted the power now regrets its choice of recipient. Tanaka Naoto stares, aghast, refusing to believe Hasuda's cutting words. As Tanaka Naoto continues his mental breakdown, Hasuda coldly reminds him of his insignificant original identity. With a surge of power, Hasuda prepares to deliver the final crushing verdict on the fallen fraud. Hasuda declares an end to Tanaka Naoto's troublesome charade, deeming him utterly insignificant. The president contemptuously grinds his shoe onto Tanaka Naoto's head, signifying his complete and utter defeat. Tanaka Naoto, utterly broken, pathetically pleads for mercy while clinging to Hasuda's leg. Hasuda, completely unfazed by the groveling, casually retrieves his phone. The president makes a call, coolly informing someone he's secured the body, and it's time for pickup as the heroines watch. With the call concluded, Hasuda's hand firmly grips the phone, signaling the next stage. A cruel smirk plays on Hasuda's lips as he offers the bewildered Tanaka Naoto a supposed chance. Hasuda speaks of a chance to be reborn, turning towards an ominously bright doorway. Suddenly, the blinding headlights of a large truck pierce the gloom, hurtling towards them. Tanaka Naoto and the heroine stare in wide-eyed shock at the rapidly approaching vehicle. The truck speeds directly at the fallen Tanaka Naoto, its arrival imminent and unavoidable. A heavy boot steps into frame, its owner arriving to deal with the aftermath, as Hasuda observes Tanaka's pathetic form. Hasuda, cigarette dangling, coolly notes the swiftness of his contact's arrival. The president then greets the shadowy figure, alluding to a recent business transaction and their reliable service. A monstrous being known as the Master of Cargoes materializes, exuding a potent, unsettling energy. Tanaka Naoto shrieks, utterly petrified by this new, grotesque arrival, as the heroines look on aghast. The creature inspects Tanaka, the merchandise, while Hasuda vouches for the pristine condition of his contents. This new entity reveals its search for a miner, referencing goblins and a transformation process intended for ghouls. Tanaka stares in utter incomprehension, his mind reeling from the terrifying implications of transformation. The monster's massive, veined hand clamps down on Tanaka Naoto's head with undeniable force. A terrifying close-up focuses on the creature's single glowing green eye, scrutinizing its new acquisition. The monstrous being expresses its approval, finding Tanaka Naoto to be in perfect, undamaged condition. Hasuda coolly seals the deal with the Master of Cargoes, who comments on the higher price for armored acquisitions. Tanaka Naoto overhears his new owner estimating a long period of forced labor, his ultimate destiny now in another's hands. The monstrous being yanks Tanaka Naoto upwards by his hair, a rough assertion of dominance. Tanaka thrashes uselessly, begging for freedom as the creature drags him towards the ominous truck, Hasuda observing impassively. He is violently tossed into the dark, unforgiving interior of the transport vehicle. Chained by the ankle, Tanaka huddles in the truck, whimpering from the throbbing pain of his ordeal. A single drop of sweat rolls down his face as the grim reality of his inescapable fate begins to truly sink in. As his vision adjusts, Tanaka realizes with dawning horror that he is surrounded by numerous shadowy goblin-like figures. The unsettling goblins, some appearing gaunt and restrained, fix their glowing red eyes on the newcomer. Shivering from both cold and fear, Tanaka feebly attempts to plead for assistance as the creatures begin to close in. Tanaka desperately struggles against the grasping goblin hands, his pleas for release echoing in the dark truck. From outside, Hasuda and the Master of Cargoes coolly observe Tanaka's mounting terror. The fallen hero frantically questions if this grim scenario is the rebirth Hasuda promised. Hasuda, with a chilling smirk, confirms Tanaka's horrified realization about his impending transformation. As more ghoulish hands restrain him, Hasuda clarifies that this rebirth won't be a human one. Tanaka's eyes widen in sheer terror as Hasuda cruelly admits he omitted that crucial detail. The heavy truck door slams shut, sealing Tanaka's fate within the dark, moving prison. With a deceptively cheerful logo, the transport vehicle speeds away, carrying its doomed cargo. The heroines can only watch, aghast and powerless, as Tanaka is driven off to an unknown, terrible destiny. As the truck disappears, Hasuda's name lingers, a testament to his successful, cold-blooded transaction. The master of cargoes departs with Tanaka, offering future services as the truck vanishes through the imposing gate. Hasuda, ever the pragmatist, turns to find the heroine still present, a flicker of surprise on his face. The trio of heroines remains, their expressions a mixture of shock, confusion, and lingering fear. Hasuda's gaze, sharp and calculating, assesses the heroines, a slight bead of sweat on his temple. He coolly informs them that Tanaka's savior act is definitively over, questioning their continued presence. The heroines appear troubled, their faces showing that simply going home isn't straightforward after all they've witnessed. Hasuda, with a knowing look, acknowledges their unspoken dilemma and casually offers to arrange their return. With a decisive clap of his hands, Hasuda signals his intent to resolve their situation, the heroines watching with uncertainty. His cigarette smolders as he prepares to act, a discarded sword nearby symbolizing the end of the previous charade. Looking down, Hasuda delivers a final, almost paternalistic piece of advice to avoid being duped by such frauds in the future. Hasuda strides away from the scene, heading towards an imposing moonlit structure his business concluded. He reaches into his coat, a subtle gesture indicating his next personal need. Discovering his cigarette pack empty, a flash of annoyance crosses Hasuda's face. With the grand building looming, he makes a mental note to restock on his way. The scene shifts to a bustling urban area, identified as the Black Dragon Castle District. A radiant woman with flowing white hair appears in a gritty alley, drawing the attention of onlookers. She seems disoriented, searching for someone named Lotus's office in the unfamiliar surroundings. The intricate network of streets and buildings proves confusing for the elegantly dressed newcomer. Ominous black crows circle above, adding a layer of foreboding to the urban landscape. Suddenly, an unseen assailant grabs the woman, her startled gasp cut short. Two imposing, shadowy figures, one bandaged, loom menacingly behind the startled woman. The radiant woman, clearly flustered, offers a nervous apology to her captors. A close-up reveals the bandaged man's single, glowing red eye, radiating an unnerving intensity. He turns away with a dismissive sound, leaving the woman visibly terrified by his intimidating presence. The men approach a cigarette shop, which one identifies as the cash exchange spot their boss mentioned. The white-haired woman looks on, utterly perplexed by the concept of a cash exchange spot. Behind the counter, an elderly woman calmly reads a small book, seemingly unbothered by her unusual customers. The man with sunglasses instructs his bandaged companion to use his unique ability to procure cash. With a flourish, the bandaged man conjures a handful of sparkling, multicolored gemstones from thin air. The elderly shopkeeper calmly agrees to the transaction, ready to exchange the mysterious gems. The shopkeeper slides over a meager sum of cash, casually mentioning a deduction for her fee. The sunglasses-clad thug stares, utterly bewildered by the paltry amount received. His disbelief echoes silently. Surely those valuable gems were worth more than this pittance. The radiant woman watches with concern as the thugs accuse the elderly shopkeeper of a blatant rip-off. The sunglasses-wearing man brandishes a blade, menacingly offering to educate the old woman on the gem's true worth. Suddenly, a deep, intimidating voice from behind the counter questions if their threats are directed at her. The two thugs are momentarily stunned into silence by this unexpected challenge. The once frail shopkeeper reveals her terrifying true form, a monstrous serpentine creature with a massive, flicking tongue. The white-haired woman can only stare, her elegant composure shattered by the shocking transformation. The monstrous shopkeeper swiftly ensnares the two goons in her powerful coils, their bravado instantly vanishing. The monstrous shopkeeper dismisses the thugs' gems as worthless, accusing them of attempting a swindle. She then grabs the sunglasses-clad goon, offering a far more personal and painful re-education on value. The bandaged man's crimson eye reflects pure dread as the serpentine horror mocks his abilities. Suddenly, a pair of polished shoes enters the scene, drawing everyone's attention from the tense standoff. The white-haired woman gasps, a glimmer of recognition and perhaps relief in her startled eyes. A distinguished older gentleman calmly greets the shopkeeper as Aunt Sheba, complimenting her unchanged, lovely demeanor. The shopkeeper's monstrous form, complete with a massive tongue and sharp fangs, still fills the frame. Miraculously, she reverts to her human appearance, warmly acknowledging the arrival of Lotus, the president. The elegant woman stares, completely baffled by this abrupt transformation and the friendly exchange. Lotus explains his recent absence to the now human shopkeeper, while the two thugs remain uncomfortably ensnared. Aunt Sheba, now human, observes Lotus's dedication, while one goon remains uncomfortably restrained. Lotus replies with a wry smile, suggesting that the less fortunate rarely get a break. With a sudden burst of energy, Aunt Sheba sends the two troublemakers flying out of her establishment. Her monstrous visage reappears momentarily, delivering a chilling warning against any future misbehavior. The terrified thugs scramble away, disappearing into the urban sprawl as fast as their legs can carry them. Aunt Sheba sighs, complaining about the declining standards of modern-day collectors. Lotus notes an increase in reincarnated newcomers, while the elegant woman observes their exchange from afar. He then produces a magnificent, glowing blue crystal, emphasizing its genuine worth to Aunt Sheba. Aunt Sheba, clearly impressed, acknowledges the crystal's value and eagerly requests more such items. Lotus smirks, remarking on the precarious nature of their profession and the luck involved in surviving even a few years. Lotus reveals his collection agency reclaims powers from reincarnated individuals deemed redundant, as gods are forbidden direct intervention. He clarifies that their clientele consists entirely of these divine beings. Lotus explains gods constantly use reincarnated people, desperately trying to boost their world's performance metrics. To achieve better results, these gods bestow powers far exceeding the recipient's natural capabilities. However, Lotus points out, this often leads to the empowered individuals causing chaos and messing up the world. Consequently, the gods turn to the collection agency when these superpowered people either retaliate or inflict significant damage. Lotus grimly acknowledges the inherent instability of such power, understanding why it rarely endures. Aunt Sheba, recognizing his extensive experience, curiously asks Lotus for any collection tips. Lotus pauses, thoughtfully stroking his chin as he considers her request. He likens the delicate art of collection to carefully extracting the yolk from a raw egg without shattering the shell. Lotus continues his analogy, but Aunt Sheba stares blankly, his profound wisdom clearly lost on her. Aunt Sheba erupts in hearty laughter, admitting she doesn't grasp his complex explanation at all. With a polite farewell, Lotus departs the shop, Aunt Sheba cheerfully waving him off. As Lotus walks away, the elegant woman, Arteus, suddenly appears, calling out to him with urgency. Lotus turns, a cigarette dangling from his lips, instantly recognizing her divine nature. The radiant woman introduces herself as Arteus, expressing her gratitude for his handling of Tanaka Naoto. Arteus offers her thanks, and Lotus coolly accepts, noting the successful completion of her request. Arteus then inquires about Tanaka Naoto's current well-being and activities. Lotus nonchalantly reveals Tanaka Naoto is now diligently working, starting anew. He further elaborates that Tanaka's significantly altered form will require about 2 centuries of hard labor. Arteus is utterly aghast at Tanaka's fate, deeming 2 centuries of labor far too severe. Lotus, half shrouded in shadow, coolly questions her definition of too much. 2 ominous crows caw their disapproval, identifying themselves as agents of the Black Dragon Fort. Arteus stands pure and bright, a stark contrast to the grim reality of the agency's work, where former troublemakers now toil. The smirking thugs imply that divine morality holds no sway in their grim earthly domain. Tanaka Naoto, now a broken laborer, is reminded that his current predicament is a direct consequence of his own actions. Arteus watches, her divine sensibilities clashing with the harsh justice being meted out. Lotus, surrounded by his crow familiars, delivers a chilling piece of advice. Stay away if she values her pristine existence. Later, Lotus enjoys a quiet moment with a donut on a park bench, a single black feather drifting down. His snack is interrupted by a phone call. A female voice on the line inquires about the president's current location. Lotus casually chats on the phone, donut in hand, confirming he's just left the office. His associate, Byakuya-san, informs him of new clients requesting a meeting and his personal details. She describes their target, a local reincarnate whose happiness index is suspiciously, unnaturally high. Elsewhere, a golden liquid touted as special mushroom tea is poured for an eager group. A beaming blonde woman, Magna-sama, offers the tea, assuring there's plenty for everyone. Lotus, intrigued, wonders if there's more to this case than just an unusually joyful individual. Deciding to investigate, he rises from the bench, announcing his return to the office amidst glowing city signs. Back at the agency, Lotus settles onto a sofa, ready to meet the new client Byaki-san has arranged. A stern-faced man in traditional attire, Kaguya Mira, formally requests an ability collection. Lotus, introducing himself as President Hasuda, hands over his business card to the new distinguished client. Kaguya Mira is introduced to the formidable Oya Yagi, a reptilian collection agent. Next, he meets Itakura, the agency's keen-eyed information gatherer. Kaguya Mira appears slightly taken aback by the unusual nature of the agency's personnel. Lotus, ever the professional, coolly inquires about the specifics of Kaguya Mira's request. Wiping his brow, Kaguya Mira begins to explain the issue concerns a recently welcomed reincarnator. He recounts bestowing a seemingly innocuous, glowing green power upon this individual. Kaguya Mira remembers confirming if the reincarnator was content with only crafting skills, receiving an affirmative. The blonde reincarnator, Magna-sama, had expressed her lifelong dream of simply living a peaceful, slow life. Lotus taps his cigarette, acknowledging the slow life trend before prompting for more details. Kaguya Mira reveals that, perplexingly, only the happiness value in the reincarnator's domain is causing issues. Kaguya Mira explains the reincarnator's domain shows an extreme, unnatural rise in happiness surrounding Magna-sama and her followers. He elaborates that maintaining the world's balance is a necessary condition for sustaining management performance. Kaguya Mira panics, fearing that if his world's performance continues to plummet, his divinity will be revoked. Lotus, cigarette in hand, coolly notes that such cases are typically just troublesome, nothing more. Desperate, Kaguya Mira bows deeply, imploring Lotus for assistance, proclaiming him their last resort. A subtle, knowing smirk plays on Lotus's lips as he takes a drag from his cigarette. Lotus lays out his terms. The agency's fee is a strict half of the collected amount, and they'll take the case if acceptable. Later, in a sun-dappled clearing, Lotus is approached by a green-haired subordinate eager for his assessment. The subordinate, sporting a confident grin, inquires about the boss's thoughts on his current state. Lotus recalls a previous assessment where Oya Yagi and Byaki-san noted the subordinate's improved appearance, with Lotus himself acknowledging a slight enhancement. The green-haired subordinate, eager to impress, boasts of his growth since their last joint collection, while Lotus coolly states he's relying on him. As they venture deeper into the woods, the subordinate points ahead, identifying their target, the village in question. They arrive at a formidable, towering wooden gate, topped with menacing barbed wire sealing off the village. The subordinate, awestruck by the imposing barrier, remarks on its prison-like appearance while Lotus calmly smokes. With a sly grin, the subordinate suggests infiltration, only for Lotus to curtly dismiss the idea as foolish. Lotus declares their approach will be direct and open, a frontal greeting being fundamental to their business. Lotus strides confidently towards the gate, instructing his subordinate to observe and learn this basic principle. The subordinate, slightly taken aback by the boss's straightforward method, can only mutter in mild disbelief. Beyond the imposing gate lies a surprisingly serene and picturesque village, bathed in sunlight. Within the village, a man tends to a flock of fluffy sheep, while the blonde reincarnator, Magna-sama, watches with a gentle smile. Two women, their faces alight with joy, happily harvest ripe berries in the sun-drenched village. Magna-sama strolls through the village, greeted with reverent calls of Lord Magna from the adoring populace. With a serene smile, Magna-sama acknowledges the villagers, noting the pleasantness of the day. The villagers gaze upon Magna-sama with blissful expressions, marveling at her wonderful presence. Under a large tree, a group of villagers converse, their expressions a mix of concern and reverence. A young man attempts to soothe an elder, dismissing Marie's worries as excessive. An older woman and a younger, braided girl observe, the elder confidently stating the missing person will eventually return. A distressed young woman named Marie reveals her husband vanished from the village 3 long months ago. Tears stream down Marie's face as she voices her profound fear for her husband's fate. A gentle hand reaches out, offering a comforting touch to the weeping Marie. Magna-sama gently consoles the distraught Marie, urging her to cease her tears. With a knowing smile, Magna-sama claims Marie's husband, Thomas, is on a vital errand for tea ingredients. Marie, unconvinced, still struggles with her deep sorrow and worry. Magna-sama then presents a small vial of shimmering purple liquid, offering it as a remedy. As other villagers observe, Magna-sama reveals this special concoction was prepared just for Marie. A benevolent smile plays on Magna-sama's lips as she calls the drink a special tea. Marie, seeking solace, uncorks the bottle and begins to consume the mysterious purple brew. She drinks deeply, a faint purple aura seemingly emanating as the liquid takes effect. A sudden, blissful calm washes over Marie, who declares the drink utterly delicious. Marie stands, marveling at her abrupt shift in mood, no longer burdened by her earlier despair, as Magna-sama observes. Marie, her sorrow completely erased, now radiates pure joy, much to the villagers' delight. Magna-sama observes with a subtle, satisfied smile, pleased with the outcome of her intervention. The villagers enthusiastically declare their village has brightened immensely since Magna-sama's arrival, owing her everything. Marie, hands clasped in gratitude, echoes their sentiments, proclaiming they can all live with smiles thanks to Lord Magna. Magna-sama humbly dismisses their praise, stating her sole desire is for everyone in the village to be happy. The adoring villagers gather around Magna-sama, their faces shining with reverence for their beloved leader. A steely glint in Magna-sama's eyes reveals an unwavering resolve to protect this village's happiness, no matter the cost. Amidst a fluffy flock, Oyayagi's covert observation is cut short as Lotus casually calls out his reptilian colleague. Magna-sama and two villagers turn sharply, their expressions shifting to suspicion as they spot the unfamiliar figures. Lotus remains impassive while his green-haired subordinate, Ever the Charmer, playfully admires a nearby sheep. Magna-sama, with a puzzled expression, internally questions the identity of the newcomers. Lotus, ever composed, acknowledges their presence with a knowing glance and a puff of smoke. Leaning casually on the sheep pen, Lotus greets Magna-sama by an unfamiliar name, Ito Takeshi, complimenting her village. The name Ito Takeshi visibly startles Magna-sama, her eyes widening in disbelief. Villagers murmur nervously amongst themselves, confused by the name and wondering if it refers to their Lord Magna. Magna-sama internally panics, questioning how these strangers know her true name and their intentions. Lotus maintains his cool, unwavering gaze, cigarette still firmly in place. The surrounding villagers appear increasingly anxious, beads of sweat forming as tension mounts. Magna-sama's hand instinctively tightens around the strap of her satchel, a subtle sign of her unease. Composing herself, Magna-sama offers a welcoming smile, introducing herself as the village chief and inquiring about their purpose. Lotus, ever the professional, acknowledges her courtesy before dropping the business bombshell. He formally introduces himself as Hasuda of Lotus Collection Service, alongside his grinning lackey, Oyayagi, presenting a business card. Magna-sama's composure shatters as Hasuda declares they're on a divine mission, to collect her ability. The card is offered, a stark symbol of their intent, while villagers recoil from the ominous declaration. Hasuda, unflappable, reiterates his purpose. He's here for her power, plain and simple. Magna-sama stares at the card, her true name, Ito Takeshi, glaring back at her, a chilling reminder of a forgotten life. She attempts a charming deflection, suggesting a case of mistaken identity, insisting her name is Magna. Hasuda feigns confusion, turning to Oyayagi, questioning the accuracy of their intel with a theatrical scratch of his head. Oyayagi, ever eager, begins to recite Ito Takeshi's detailed life history, painting a vivid picture of Magna's past. Magna-sama's eyes widen in pure, unadulterated panic as the ghosts of her previous existence are paraded before her. Hasuda presses Magna, still using her old name, Ito Takeshi, as she stands frozen. Magna, her eyes shadowed, cryptically questions the implications of her revealed past. She boldly declares her new identity as Magna, dedicated solely to the village's happiness, earning her followers' admiration. Hasuda, with a knowing smirk, compliments Magna's seemingly noble aspirations. The villagers erupt, fiercely defending their Lord Magna and demanding the outsiders leave immediately. Oyayagi nervously eyes his boss, sensing trouble, while Hasuda coolly observes the escalating situation. A protective wall of villagers forms around Magna, their voices united in defiance against the intruders. A confident smirk plays on Magna's lips, acknowledging the unwavering loyalty of her devoted followers. The villagers' shouts intensify, labeling Hasuda and Oyayagi as unwelcome thieves. Magna raises a calming hand, preparing to address the agitated crowd and the unwelcome collectors. Magna-sama, with a disarming smile, waves to her villagers, assuring them she's perfectly fine. She then turns to the collectors, calmly confirming their identities as Mr. Hasuda and Mr. Oyayagi. Magna-sama extends an unexpected invitation to her home for tea, gesturing politely. Oyayagi erupts in disbelief, accusing Magna of toying with them, while Hasuda observes with narrowed eyes. Hasuda, with a faint, knowing smile, acknowledges her welcome, still addressing her by her old name. Magna-sama, ever the gracious host, replies that entertaining guests is simply part of her duty. As Magna-sama leads the way, Oyayagi questions Hasuda's decision to follow, clearly bewildered. Hasuda coolly considers his cigarette, pondering what kind of trickery awaits them inside. He then declares with a confident air that it's time to see what unfolds, anticipating some excitement. Magna-sama cheerfully ushers them into her surprisingly stylish home, Oyayagi noting its appearance. Magna-sama, ever the gracious host, invites the collectors to sit while she prepares tea. A steaming teapot and 2 cups are presented, a seemingly innocent offering. Seated at her table, Hasuda cuts through the pleasantries, eager to discuss their main topic. Magna-sama calmly pours a distinctly purple brew, acknowledging their stated purpose, to take her power. Oyayagi, with a menacing grin, questions if Magna truly grasps the grim meaning of collection. Undeterred, Magna-sama offers the tea to Hasuda, urging him to drink, much to Oyayagi's visible dismay. Hasuda, ignoring his subordinate's silent protest, confidently takes a drink from the offered cup. Magna-sama beams, remarking on the politeness of accepting hospitality, as Oyayagi eyes the situation nervously. Hasuda declares the tea to his liking, subtly mocking Oyayagi's apparent immaturity. A chilling intensity flickers in Magna-sama's eyes, hinting at a plan already in motion. Magna-sama, with a knowing smile, subtly chides Oyayagi for his lack of manners. She then begins to boast about the versatility of her power, far beyond mere potion-making or simple repairs. With a glint in her eye, Magna demonstrates a fraction of her ability, her fingertip glowing ominously over the table. A single potent drop from her finger strikes the table, sending ripples of energy across its surface. Suddenly, a complex magical sigil erupts beneath Hasuda, catching him completely off guard. Magna-sama's smirk widens, her true, cunning nature finally surfacing. She casually reveals that her convenient power also excels at creating inescapable traps for unwelcome guests. Oyayagi panics, while Hasuda, ever the cool customer, merely raises an eyebrow at this sudden turn of events. The very floor beneath Hasuda's feet cracks and shatters, revealing a dark, unknown space below. Both collectors plummet downwards as Magna-sama's trap springs, their surprised expressions caught mid-fall. Magna-sama bids a smug farewell, the glowing sigil beneath her hand sealing their fate. Her hand gestures dismissively, certain they won't be troubling her again. With a satisfied smile, Magna surveys the now empty room, her trap perfectly executed. Deep below, a flicker of flame ignites as Hasuda calmly lights his cigarette lighter. Hasuda, ever composed, notes their considerable fall and questions their current gloomy location. He illuminates a dark, narrow passage, noticing a strange odor and Oyayagi lying unconscious nearby. Oyayagi groans, slowly regaining consciousness, utterly bewildered by his new hard bed. His eyes widen in horror as he focuses on a grotesque skull adorned with peculiar blue mushrooms. Oyayagi lets out a silent scream of terror, while Hasuda merely comments on the echoing noise. Hasuda coolly observes the bizarre sight, identifying the strange fungi parasitizing the skeletal remains. Hasuda casually points out something peculiar on his subordinate's head, leaving Oyayagi utterly baffled. A close-up reveals 2 vibrant blue mushrooms have sprouted directly from Oyayagi's scalp. Oyayagi frantically tries to remove the unwelcome fungi, yelping in pain as they refuse to budge. Hasuda notes the increasingly foul odor, realizing the source is more widespread than just the skulls. With Magna's smug visage appearing in his mind, Hasuda confidently dismisses her fungal trickery as ineffective against him. Hasuda calmly advises Oyayagi, now hunched over, to limit his breathing, acknowledging they've witnessed Magna's true capabilities. A grim tableau reveals countless skulls, each hosting the same blue mushrooms, the ultimate fate of Magna's defiant troublemakers. Oyayagi stares in abject terror, the connection between his new headwear and the skeletal remains dawning on him. Hasuda, with a chillingly calm demeanor, proposes a little tour of Happy Village's grim underbelly for his terrified companion. The two collectors proceed down a shadowy corridor, Hasuda's lighter barely illuminating their path, and another mushroom-adorned skull. Oyayagi, ever jumpy, senses an approaching presence and alerts his unruffled boss. 2 feet step into view, one disturbingly normal, the other sprouting those familiar blue mushrooms. Hasuda, the epitome of cool, calmly lights another cigarette, completely unfazed by the ominous sounds. The collectors turn to confront the source, a large, shambling figure, its foot heavily encrusted with fungi. A grotesque man, almost entirely consumed by blue mushrooms, stumbles towards them in a daze. Oyayagi recoils in shock, while Hasuda's expression remains unreadable, assessing this new fungal horror. The mushroom-covered man looks utterly bewildered, his face a canvas of fungal infestation. Oyayagi, his own mushroom adornments throbbing, nervously asks the identity of this strange newcomer. Hasuda, lighter, still flaming, addresses the fungal figure with his characteristic unnerving composure. The mushroom man, his own feat a testament to Magna's cruelty, inquires if they too were cast down by her. The fungal man, a ghostly image of his former self behind him, inquires about their origins and identities. Hasuda, ever the professional, introduces them as collection agents on a mission to seize Magna's fraudulent powers. The mushroom-covered man reacts with disbelief, questioning the very possibility of stripping Magna of her abilities. Hasuda affirms their capability, cryptically mentioning the need for a clean collection process. He elaborates that success hinges on striking precisely when Magna's true monstrous nature is revealed. Hasuda coolly declares their intention to shake things up, leaving the fungal man visibly startled. With a curt apology for the disturbance, Hasuda signals Oyayagi, preparing for their departure. As Hasuda turns to leave, the desperate mushroom man attempts to halt their exit. The afflicted man urgently begs them to warn his wife and the others to flee for their lives. Hasuda, utterly unmoved, callously rebuffs the plea, suggesting the man deliver his own warnings. The fungal man clutches his tattered bag, admitting his inability to deliver the warning himself. Desperate, he offers to trade Magna's secrets and the village's hidden truths for their help. He collapses further, revealing more fungal growths, lamenting his rapidly dwindling time. The afflicted man pleads with them, his body succumbing further to the parasitic mushrooms. His plea catches Hasuda's attention, the mushroom man looking up with a flicker of hope. Hasuda, ever the opportunist, smirks, deeming the offer of secrets too good to pass up. Gathered around a makeshift fire, the mushroom man reveals Magna's brainwashing grip on the entire village. Hasuda, calmly taking a drag from his cigarette, inquires about Magna's method of controlling the populace. The mushroom man, now almost entirely consumed, points to the very fungi devouring him as the key. He explains the mushrooms induce a powerful euphoria, a flashback showing Magna using this to seize control of the village. Oyayagi gawks as Hasuda coolly accepts that mushrooms are indeed the key to Magna's control. The fungal man reminisces about their once humble village, where peace reigned despite poverty, a stark contrast to their current plight. Then, as if from nowhere, the charismatic Magna arrived, forever altering their simple existence. Magna dazzled the village with wondrous powers, advanced technology, and miraculous medicine, quickly becoming their savior. In what felt like an instant, the entire populace was utterly captivated, hanging on Magna's every word. But the fungal man recounts how a creeping unease began, as the villagers' devotion to Master Magna turned unsettling. He recalls a specific ominous conversation with his wife, Marie, as Magna's influence grew. Marie, her eyes shining with adoration, proclaimed Magna a true hero, solving all their problems. Thomas, the fungal man's former self, felt a chill, questioning Marie's fervent deification of Magna. Marie, her expression disturbingly zealous, declared Magna a god to them, leaving Thomas deeply troubled. Marie's chilling question about needing a reason to worship a god hung heavy in the air. Thomas grimly recalled how, before he knew it, most villagers, even children, were fawning over Magna. Magna's smug, knowing smirk confirmed the villagers had indeed become her devoted servants. Realizing the danger, Thomas gathered the few remaining sane individuals to investigate Magna's true nature. Their investigation shockingly revealed all food from Magna was laced with mushrooms, part of a plan for wider influence. Just as Thomas and his group believed they had secured definitive proof against Magna, their clandestine meeting was abruptly interrupted as a large, ominous foot stepped into their hideout. Magna herself appeared, her expression dark, delivering a condescending remark about their futile efforts. Thomas, now a fungal horror, explained his comrades were consumed by the mushrooms, their life force drained. Hasuda, ever astute, pieced it together. Magna used defiant villagers as raw material for her mind-altering fungi. Hasuda, with a knowing smirk, acknowledges the cunning nature of Magna's insidious operation. The fungal man, Thomas, desperately pushes his tattered bag towards them, a final, urgent plea. He reveals the bag contains precious mementos and a letter from his fallen comrades. Thomas, his past self echoing his current anguish, begs them to save everyone, especially his beloved Marie. A vision of Marie, smiling innocently, underscores Thomas's desperate hope for her salvation. With his fungal hands crumbling, Thomas implores them to awaken Marie and the others from Magna's thrall. Hasuda calmly accepts the bag from Thomas's rapidly deteriorating, mushroom-covered hand. With a nod, Hasuda expresses gratitude for the crucial intelligence Thomas provided. As Thomas fades, he manages a final thank you, Hasuda assuring him they will handle things from here. Hasuda kneels, watching as Thomas completely dissolves into shimmering particles, the bag his only remnant. Hasuda stands resolute amidst the fading particles of Thomas, his expression hardening. He examines the poignant mementos, a simple ring and a bracelet inscribed, Dear Marie. Oyayagi, sporting his own fungal adornments, seethes with a rare and potent anger. Lighting a cigarette, Hasuda silently vows to Thomas that his sacrifice will not be in vain. As they depart, leaving Thomas's remains, Hasuda affirms their commitment to fulfilling their promises. The scene shifts to Magna, charmingly leading a toast at a lavish village feast, her adoring followers captivated. Marie, her eyes shining with devotion, encourages the villagers to appreciate their daily good fortune. The enthralled villagers eagerly raise their glasses, attributing all their blessings to Master Magna. Wine glasses clink together in a seemingly joyous yet ominous display of collective adoration. Suddenly, an unseen force shatters the festive atmosphere with a powerful disruptive impact. The villagers recoil in shock from the sudden blast, as Hasuda coolly announces his arrival. Magna peers through the chaos, her eyes widening as she spots the uninvited guests. Hasuda casually remarks on their tardiness, an overturned wine glass hinting at their disruptive entrance. Standing beside Oyayagi, Hasuda sarcastically notes Magna's passionate welcome and promises a significant return gesture. Magna, amidst the scattered feast, expresses her surprise and demands to know how they entered. Oyayagi, his face a mask of fury, tells Magna to brace herself for what's coming. Magna's gaze narrows, a silent challenge to the intruders disrupting her domain. Hasuda, ever the showman, calls for the villagers' attention, ready to unveil his next move. With a knowing smirk, Hasuda offers to expose the dark reality behind their so-called happy village. The villagers and Magna stare in disbelief as the festive night abruptly transforms into broad daylight. Magna glares, her composure momentarily shaken by Hasuda's dramatic daylight reveal. Hasuda, flanked by an equally grim Oyayagi, begins to expose the truth about Magna's provisions. He presents a vibrant blue mushroom, revealing the secret ingredient in their daily meals. The villagers, still under Magna's spell, scoff at Hasuda's claims, dismissing them as nonsense. They laughingly insist the mushrooms are beneficial, a well-known fact in their blessed village. Hasuda, unfazed by their denial, takes a drag from his cigarette, preparing his next bombshell. He then crushes a mushroom-covered skull, dramatically revealing the horrifying main ingredient. The villagers recoil in terror and disbelief as the gruesome truth of their sustenance is laid bare. Magna's face is obscured by shadow, her true reaction to this damning evidence hidden. Suddenly, Magna bursts into laughter, mockingly thanking Hasuda for his interesting theory. Magna, with a condescending smile, questions the realism of Hasuda's gruesome display. Oyayagi, seething, tells Magna to drop the charade, a sentiment Hasuda calmly affirms. Magna coolly acknowledges she anticipated their claims, as Oyayagi confirms they didn't arrive unprepared. Hasuda then plays a recording from his phone, revealing Thomas's desperate warning about Magna's village-wide brainwashing. The villagers, especially a stunned Marie, reel in shock upon hearing Thomas's unmistakable voice. Hasuda's foot stomps emphatically as he continues to narrate the horrifying truth behind Magna's reign. He details how, after addicting the village to mushrooms, Magna drained Thomas's comrades of their life, leaving nothing. Hasuda chillingly elaborates on Magna's system. Those who resist are disposed of and fed to the others. Magna and the surrounding villagers stare, their faces a mask of disbelief and dawning horror at the unspeakable revelation. Oyayagi, his expression grim, then presents Thomas's bag, promising further damning proof. Oyayagi dramatically empties the bag, revealing personal belongings he declares belong to those Magna eliminated. The villagers, horrified, recognize the mementos: a father's bag, a wife's necklace, their faces etched with dawning comprehension. The chilling implication hangs in the air. Their missing loved ones are truly gone. Betrayed villagers turn on Magna, their voices rising as they demand she explain these monstrous accusations. Magna, her back to the crowd, coldly admits her deception is exposed, blaming the intruders for spoiling her plans. Hasuda and Oyayagi observe Magna's unsettling calm, bracing for her inevitable retaliation. Magna's eyes gleam with malevolent energy as she laments her ruined scheme, a dangerous power gathering in her hand. Her hand hovers over an intricate glowing sigil on the ground, crackling with ominous power. Magna, bathed in the sigil's eerie light, prepares to unleash a devastating move, hinting she's done this before. She vows to reset everything as ferocious horned beasts with glowing eyes suddenly materialize, ready to attack. The summoned beasts immediately wreak havoc, sending terrified villagers scrambling for safety. Oyayagi curses Magna's preparedness, while Hasuda coolly acknowledges her meticulous planning. Magna, with an unnervingly calm smile, dismisses her current display of power as merely a prelude. Bathed in the sigil's green glow, Magna declares that Hasuda and Oyayagi will face the consequences of their interference. The intricate sigil on the ground flares with an even more intense, ominous green energy. From the swirling magic, Magna summons a colossal, green-skinned behemoth, her ultimate enforcer. Oyayagi stares in disbelief at the giant's sheer size, as Hasuda dryly compliments Magna's impressive specimen. Magna, her eyes gleaming with malice, issues a chilling command for her monstrous creation to attack. The colossal beast roars, raising a massive arm to bring down devastating force upon its targets. Hasuda, ever composed, takes a final drag from his cigarette, his gaze fixed and resolute. The behemoth's colossal axe slams down, narrowly missing Hasuda but shattering the ground. Oyayagi looks on in disbelief as Hasuda, seemingly unfazed, addresses an unseen figure while blood drips nearby. A formidable reptilian ally is revealed, an axe embedded in its shoulder, questioning Hasuda's reckless proximity. This reptilian warrior intercepted the behemoth's blow, taking the hit intended for Hasuda. Hasuda, ever composed, entrusts the fight against the behemoth to his bleeding but resolute companion. The reptilian ally seizes the behemoth's arm, effortlessly halting its powerful attack. With a grunt of exertion, the reptilian warrior powerfully hurls Magna's giant enforcer. The behemoth crashes to the ground, dazed as the reptilian ally stands over it, unimpressed. The sharp-toothed ally taunts the fallen behemoth, daring it to rise and continue the battle. Oyayagi remarks on the ally's surprising power, but Hasuda curtly denies his request to engage this particular foe. Magna feigns disappointment, a new scheme already forming in her mind. While her beasts cause mayhem, Magna eyes Oyayagi, who calmly observes the unfolding chaos. Magna, with a chillingly possessive glint, considers eliminating Oyayagi to claim the powerful reptilian ally. Oyayagi finds himself encircled by Magna's snarling beasts, yet he remains remarkably composed. Hasuda coolly assesses the feral beasts, deeming them utterly lacking in proper training. With a single unspoken command from Hasuda, an invisible pressure slams the unruly beasts to the ground. Oyayagi, taking a drag from his cigarette, smirks, ready to impart a harsh lesson in discipline. Magna's ferocious horned beasts are now surprisingly docile, sitting obediently before Oyayagi. Oyayagi, flanked by the now tamed creatures, mockingly asks Magna what other tricks she has. Magna scoffs, a flicker of annoyance and pink energy appearing as her control is challenged. Magna clenches her fist, pink energy erupting as she prepares her next move. Oyayagi, ever observant, coolly identifies Magna's new tactic as a smokescreen. The villagers gasp and choke, enveloped by a mysterious pink mist that fills the air. Marie, struggling within the disorienting haze, desperately calls out for Thomas. Through the swirling mist, Magna emerges, her attention fixed solely on Marie. Magna, with a disturbingly serene smile, approaches the terrified Marie. Marie recoils as Magna reaches for her, her faith in the village leader utterly broken. Magna reveals her twisted desire for Marie, planning a dark, happily ever after for them. Oyayagi scans the chaos, realizing Hasuda has vanished within Magna's disorienting mist. Oyayagi swiftly catches Marie as she succumbs to the effects of the strange pink fog. Oyayagi, cradling the unconscious Marie, expresses concern for her well-being. His concern is brutally cut short as a weapon suddenly impales his chest, blood marking the shocking betrayal. Marie, shockingly revived, stands before the wounded Oyayagi, her expression revealing a chilling, unwavering loyalty to Magna. Oyayagi glares defiantly through his pain as Marie, weapon still in hand, pronounces a grim fate for all outsiders.